It was when I was maybe 7, 8 or 9 years old. My teachers told me to turn off the lights and save paper and don't throw away food. And I asked why, and they said because there's something called climate change or global warming that the humans are causing. And I remember thinking that it was very strange that humans, who are an animal species on Earth, could be capable of changing the Earth's climate. Because if we were, and if it was really happening, we wouldn't be talking about anything else, and that will be our first priority. And then I started reading about it because I thought it was so strange, and I read about it more and more, and the more I read about it, the more I understood it. And then I started at home. I started with the turning off the lights and pulling out the chargers to save energy and electricity. And so that was a small start for me. And then my parents, they were pretty annoyed.
I was going to say it must have driven them crazy.
Yeah. But then they started realizing, and I told them that this was important, and we started reading about it together and watching films and reading books and articles. And before I knew it, I was a climate activist, or how would you say it?
I believe you had a very important meeting today with Secretary General Guterres.
Yes, I talked about climate justice, and I told him that for 25 years, countless of people have stood in front of the United Nations climate conferences, begging our world's leaders to stop the emissions. But clearly that has not worked, since the emissions are continuing to rise over and over. And I will not beg the world leaders to care for our future. I will instead let them know that change is coming, whether they like it or not, and to beg the people instead to realize that our political leaders have failed us. So that I will not beg the world leaders, because they have ignored us and they will ignore us again. I mean, these conferences are, of course, they could be very good, they could be very useful, but they aren't. But we could make them. And so what I hope that we, all of us, achieve at this conference is that we realize that we are facing an existential threat, and that this is the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced before, and we stand for changes that we cannot understand, that we just kind of take that in and do something with that information, because people don't know how emergent the situation is. So first we have to realize that, and then we have to, as fast as possible, do something, stop the emissions, and just try to save what we can save. I would want to say that we have to understand, we have to realize what the old generations have done to us, what mess they have created, that we have to clean up and live with, that we have to make our voices heard and make them try to clean it up after them, just to make the voices heard. I think that it's very scary, because we don't know very much about it. Why do we have to do that? Why can't we just reduce and stop the emissions? Is that so hard? You can say that it's like one person who is dying and says, I'm not going to have an operation, I'm going to wait. In the future, there might be a magic pill that I can take. It's very risky. I think that we today are we care very much. We say all the time we have to have hope. If there's no hope, then we can't do anything. But I think that even if there is no hope, we have to do something. That is, not having hope is not an excuse for not doing anything. Because, of course, we need hope, but the one thing we need more than hope is action. Because once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, we should look for action. And then, only then, hope will come.